What's up, bitches?
I'm
Chairwool.
and welcome to the
second
episode of Shelter
Victim
Presents Fun with
Beanies. I feel like this image here sums up the uselessness of the last Beanie Baby video. Anyone remember Teddy Oldface Violet and my insistence on it becoming a meme? But anyway, I don't really have any plans for this one going in. It's just going to be kind of a bunch of nonsense for a while. If you liked the last incredibly long Beanie Baby vlog, then good news, you're in for a good time here. If you didn't, then I mean, you're probably not even watching this one. But yeah, it's been about a year since that last one. That one had no reason to be made, but it was something I wanted to do, and I thought it came out pretty hilarious, and other people seemed to enjoy it. This one is not going to be as funny, probably, because it's not going to be looking through magazines with ridiculous ads and really stupid like articles. Rather, it's mostly going to just be me going over my new acquisitions, including this magazine here. This is the first issue of the Beanie World magazine, comparing it to the one I showed off last time. Well, I showed off two of them last time, but this was one of them. Quite a bit of a difference in length here. You can spot the difference, because surprisingly this one is not 500 pages of ads. It is pretty short and to the point. Mainly because this one was meant to be a standalone thing and it wasn't really going to be an ongoing magazine. But we'll look through this one. I actually just got this today. Figured I would just take a look at it. I got some other stuff, and then I'll be going through my giant box of random garbage that I've acquired, because when I did the last video on this, I didn't really have a beanie collection of any sort. I had a box of like 20 or so that were just kind of picked up over the last few years whenever I saw one that I wanted, and I would just grab it just for old time's sake, but I had no like goal with them. As of the first of this year, I have decided to start working on a full collection of everything with a Gen 4 tag specifically, which is about 120 items. I have a spreadsheet that goes over all of them, and I've been tracking everything I have and the condition that they're in and that kind of stuff. Don't really need to show this spreadsheet, but it exists. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of something I enjoy doing. When I did the last video, it awoken, that was a good sentence. It brought out the like 8-year-old in me, apparently, and I just kind of felt like starting collecting stuff, and I mean, why not? It's kind of surprising how many I found last month. I currently have a collection of about 44 out of the 120 that exist with the Gen 4 tag. That number is a little debatable. It depends on what you count for different variants, if they should count or not. But it's about 120, and I have 44. And yeah, the last one I picked up was, let me actually check my notepad here. Yeah, I got January 31st. I picked up like 10 new ones. And in the past almost a full month, I have yet to actually find any new ones, because I think I've pretty much cleaned out all the thrift stores near here. Like, they're always getting new stock, but it's never ones that I need. So, I don't know, I'll be keeping my eyes open and hopefully find some stuff. But let's look at this first, because this is going to be interesting, hopefully. Interesting for me, at least. So, I don't actually know when this one was released, but because it doesn't have like a month on the front, all I know is it's volume 1. It was released sometime after May 14th, 1997, and sometime before, let me see, or sorry, May 11th, my bad. Sometime between May 11th and July 12th. I can tell because of the release dates of things. More on that later. So yeah, a lot of this is just kind of images of stuff. It goes over like the full collection and like a couple articles which I'll be looking at, and that's probably about it. Yeah, these were the new releases at the time. These are the ones that came out May 11th. Of those, I've got probably about half of them right now. I don't have all of them yet, but this was I think there might have been other like Beanie fan magazines that came out before this one, or like little one-off books and stuff, but this was the first one I had, and this was where I kind of learned about a lot of the different kinds that I was not aware of, because as I mentioned in the last video, when I started collecting, it was November of 1997 or 96 was when I got my first ones, and from like various stores that sold them in the area, I found like a couple checklists, and they would go over like the list of all of them, but they didn't have pictures, and the lists only included the ones that were current at the time. It didn't show any of the older ones, and it never mentioned like variants of stuff. So when I saw this, and it's like you've got the different versions of Nip and Zip, which went through. These pictures would lead you to believe 3 variants. It's actually technically 4, as I learned recently. That it's getting into really nitpicky territory, though. So yeah, I didn't know about any of that stuff. Yeah, let's kind of just look at this a bit. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just showing it on screen because why not? Kalamazoo College. That's an awesome name. Also, this is page number 4, and we've already got a mistake because it's listing pinchers instead of punchers here. Because Pinchers the Lobster is fairly common. Punchers is specifically the first edition Pinchers with a typo on the tag. That's the valuable one. You can't actually tell the difference between them other than the tag. But yeah, there's Spot with no spot. It's kind of interesting how between my last video on this and now, there's been like this sudden surge in interest that I've noticed. Like Guru Larry did a video on beanies recently. It was actually pretty good. I would recommend checking that out. I went into that thing expecting to nitpick the shit out of it, but he seemed to have his facts straight. There was nothing in there that I took issue with. Stuffed claws similar to boxing gloves. I actually don't know if that's true. But yeah, Punchers and Brownie are kind of interesting. I don't think I ever realized this as a kid, but going through a lot of info recently, I've come to realize that of the original 9, those 2 specifically apparently were like shown off at some kind of toy fair a good like 6 months to a year before the original 9 came out. And that was when they had like the old weird names, and then they got changed later. So that's why those 2 are like kind of like the prize, like the crown jewel of the collection, just because they're really like there were only a few made of them. They were never on the market as far as I'm aware. And then Nana is just kind of weird. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into Nana really. It's that one. It released with that name, and then they put like a piece of tape inside the tag covering it up to say Bongo, and then they eventually just switched it to Bongo, so there weren't very many with the old name. But yeah, that's that one. Again, I'm just going to kind of skim through these. I'm probably going to read through this magazine later on, but I just figured I would show it off right now. There's Lucky. I have a few questions about 21 Spot Lucky. It says right there, for a very short period of time in 1996, 21 Spot Lucky was released. So I think it was a manufacturing error. I don't think it was actually like a choice that they made to make that one. I'm not really sure. There's the various teddies, which we all know about at this point. Nip and Zip, as featured on the last page. Not sure why their picture is not lined up with them. There's Stripes. Why are there... Oh yeah, fuzzy belly stripe. I don't know why fuzzy belly is a thing. It's weird. Because it, like... See, that's what I mean when I say, like, there's... It's debatable how many variants there are. Because, like, the lighter colored one would fit into my collection, so I'll want to get that one. But the darker one only has a Gen 3 tag, and I'm not going for those because they're basically just too uncommon. I would never have a chance of finding them just randomly. I'd have to get them off of eBay and stuff. So that's kind of where I draw the line. And if I was going to get that, then I'd have to be like, does the fuzzy belly one count? Or does that is that just a manufacturing error? Like, who could say? It's kind of weird. Same thing with Patty. Patty went through like 4 colors, but the magazine here only really recognizes 2 of them. There's a few instances like that. Yeah, there's Digger went through 2 colors, and Inky went through 2 colors, one gray with a mouth, one gray without a mouth. Here's the different tags. So yeah, the 4th gen tag, like I said, is the one I'm going for in my collection. Mainly just because that's the one that was around when I started, and I could also go for 5th, but if I did, it would like double the amount that I have to get. So I figure like just sticking to the 4th kind of makes it a nice clean, like you can tell where it starts and ends. There's no question about it. I don't know. But yeah, this was before the 5th tag actually came out. That one was around, I want to say October of 97 is when they changed it. It's a very slight difference. I'll actually show that off in a bit because I've got a couple beanies that I actually have with both tags. There's our Royal Blue Peanut, which if you remember from the last video, I talked about how that's like basically one of the rarest ones. I think it's slightly artificial hype behind that one. Like, I don't know if it's actually as rare as people say it is. But, I mean, really, value is what people make of it. Like, if someone wants to pay $3,000 for it, then, I mean, go for it, I guess. And there's Tie-Dye Lizzie. I'm basically just showing this in the case, like, someone wants to pause and try to read it with all the excellent blur and glare that's going on. Yeah, here's Patty. It's like, that is such a slight color difference. And again, there's like 4 of those. I've seen an eBay auction that sold a bunch of them and said that it was like 4 different kinds, and some of them were so similar, it's really hard to tell. There's Tank. Tank's another weird one, because that one, just to backtrack a bit and kind of explain what I mean with the 4th gen tag, because I didn't really address that much. These were the 4 that existed at the time. Obviously, there were more later. The major difference you can tell just from looking at the 3rd and 4th is that the 4th one adds the yellow star to the front. And then the inside, it changed from the, like, to blank from blank with love text to giving it, like, a poem and a birthday and stuff like that. So, like I said, the change to these happened, it just says mid-96. I don't know when in 96, and that bugs me. I'd like to know exactly when it happened. And it's kind of hard to track because of stuff like this. Because, like I said, there's 3 versions of Tank. 2 of them are almost identical, but one of them has like 9 stitches on it, and one of them only has 7. The one with 9, you can see the star on the tags. That actually is a Gen 4. The one with 7 can be 3 or 4. And judging from, like, allegedly official start and end dates of these, it doesn't quite line up with what I'd expect, but I'm sure I'll bitch about that a little bit more later. That's just stuff that I care about and nobody else in the world ever should. So, you want to get a little more blurry, thank you. But yeah, here's just the full collection that existed at the time. I'm just going to kind of skip through this a little bit. I don't need to show it too much. In this issue, they just print the poem that all of them have, and the ones that don't have poem, it just gives like a little bio. It says, Bronte was retired before poems were issued. He is by far the rarest of the 3 dinosaurs, most likely because his material was shared with Sting the Stingray. I don't know why that would be the reason. I mean, I don't know why that would be the reason. I mean, I don't know why that would be the reason. I mean, I don't know why that would be the reason. I mean, I don't know why that would be the reason. I mean, I don't know why that would be the reason. I mean, I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I don't know why that would be the reason. I I guess if they only made a certain amount of the fabric and they had to share it between the two, then that kind of makes sense. It's kind of weird though. So here's brown and tan-tailed bongo. I think I brought this up in the last one also. These are kind of a weird one. Oh hey, look, it actually says, it says that the brown tail one is current at the time of this magazine coming out. Was it? Let me see. It was... Because I've done a ton of cross-referencing, and as far as I can tell, it retired February of '97, so it shouldn't actually be current. That was probably a mistake that they put in there, but some of these it's so hard to tell. Like, they probably just had like a random stock of them at the factory or whatever, and then just released them with the rest. And so they just never had like a defined start and end date on those. I don't freaking know. There's Brownie. Bumble's another weird one. So let me actually cut to the charts that I have for a bit here just to kind of show this off, because this is where it gets kind of weird for like the purposes of my personal collection. I've got two different charts. This one is for my personal collection. This one's just kind of sorting stuff by release date. And so, like, let me just show this specifically, because this is a good example of like me not understanding where some of this info comes from. Bumble and Caw, they're a good example because they're right next to each other. You can see them right next to each other in the magazine. According to my spreadsheet, which again I got this info from a number of different sources to try to get it as accurate as possible, both came out on the same date, both retired on the same date, and yet for some reason Bumble can have a Gen 4 tag and Caw can't, and I don't really know why that is. And so because of that, Bumble's actually going to be like one of the most expensive if I was going to try to fill out the entire collection, just because I don't think it was ever meant to have a Gen 4, and so they're actually really hard to come by. Same thing for a lot of these really early ones. Like these are, if I'm going for a full collection, like these and just some of the weird error ones, like Maple with a Pride tag, 21 Spot Lucky, that kind of stuff, those are going to be the ones that kind of go for like probably in the 100 range. And so it's debatable if I'll get those. Like someday I'd probably like to, but they're certainly not a priority of mine. I'm trying my best to not get anything off the internet because I feel like that kind of ruins it a little bit. I'd like to rather just find them on my own. But anyway, so I'm just kind of getting into random side tangents here that nobody cares about. So there's Chili. Just, I don't know why I pointed that one out specifically. It's rare. Why not? This is definitely quite a different and more simplistic listing than in the later magazines. For comparison, like this has enough room to kind of show all of them and give like little descriptions and stuff. This one, it's like, okay, we've got like 200 of these goddamn things, let's just cram them in. But focus. Yeah, here's one of my favorite variants. Magic with light pink stitching on the wings, magic with hot pink stitching on the wings. Look at the wings on this one, you can't really see it that well. Look at the wings on this one, you can make it out. Oh my god, that's such a big difference. Like, and the stupid thing is, apparently now, like, people are recognizing that there's a third color in between the two. Like, I don't even know how you would tell. Like, I guess if you had them side by side, maybe, but yeah, that's another example of, like, are there really 120? Like, are we really counting the hot pink as different? I mean, I guess. I don't know. So here's purple patty, and here's deep magenta / maroon patty. This magazine only considers 2 of them. So remember how Punchers allegedly has stuffed claws that look like boxing gloves? I'm not quite seeing that in this image here. think they were full of crap. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, if I look in the other magazine that I've got here, it specifically lists an American and European version of these, which I find really weird because this was the like prototype, like only shown off at one particular trade show thing. So like I don't know why there was a European one unless they had two different trade shows. I don't know, it's kind of weird. The only difference between those two is just the feelers apparently are a little different. Also, I've passed over something. This is going to sound stupid, and it is stupid, but one of the reasons I got this magazine was specifically to look at what it said about inch hair, because first of all, it got the images flipped. It says this one is yarn, this one is felt. That is not the case. But as we established earlier, this thing was released in October, no, it was released between May and July 1997, and we know that because Strut replaced Doodle in July, and Strut is not in this magazine. Yeah, it would be on one of these pages if it was. And this one claims that Felt Inch retired in '96, and it already knows about Yarn Inch. More on that later, because official sources would disagree with that, apparently. So, anyway, there's some more stuff. There's some more stuff. Can you believe all the stuff? I like how this magazine actually lists spook and spooky as two different things. Another variant that is debatable. Basically, just spook was the original version, and they changed the name after like a month. There's a Fuzzy Belly. Here's the different tank versions. And our favorites, the old-faced teddies. Yeah, there were really not that many at this point. Clearly I will go through and count how many. No, I'm not going to. Ask the editor. Let's see what these are. The most valuable kind of toy. Clear plastic fastener attaching the heart hang tag is here. Apparently there were some that use clear plastic. I did not know that, actually. I probably read that many years ago and then forgot about it. And we need something to fill this page. Quick, pose stuff and take a picture of it. I'm actually noticing that Squealer there has a Gen 1 tag, and I can't tell if any of the other ones do. Yeah, it looks like Legs does. And if that's Brownie... No, that's not Brownie. I can tell because it's got a red tush tag. Jeez, Mary Beth, get your act together. Oh boy, I am not going to be looking through this on screen. I happened to scan over this part, talking about, asked her about the elephant named Peanut. He was the only Beanie baby they had left. I think he's here because he's so ugly. He's the ugliest colored blue I've ever seen. It's a powder blue, isn't it? Oh, heavens no, this is an ugly blue. Not baby blue, would you call it royal blue? No, I would call it ugly blue. What? That is so weird. Alright then. It's like not even an ugly blue. Like, I would actually say it looks better than the other one. It's just, it's a darker blue. Like, what's wrong with that? I don't know. Oh, this goes on for a while. Oh boy, swap meets. wonder if I ever went to any of these. I say that knowing that I went to like one. There was apparently one in Westmont, Illinois on October 18th. Maybe, who knows, maybe that was the one I went to. Don't even know what's going on in this image. Moving on. Fad or true collectible? Well, it was a true collectible for a few years. And then it kind of bombed a little bit. Also, I saw this image earlier. Not having read through this article yet, I don't know who these kids are, but I'm noticing that he has a royal blue peanut on his shoulder, and they've got what appears to be a Gen 2 tag patty, and some other rare stuff in there. Like, okay, like they are toys. I guess you can give them to your kids, but I don't know if I really want them to. Here's the original set of teenies. Yeah, this was before the second set. Second set was in 1998, so these were the only ones that existed at the time. Yeah, the teeny beanie thing was insane. Just that was also gone over in the Guru Larry video, how people were like fricking trampling each other over these things, just ordering ridiculous amounts of Happy Meals to get them and throwing out the food and all that stuff. And I definitely was part of that. It was a difficult hunt to find all of them. There's just birthdays, very brief price guide, which I also looked at, and I like some of these little things that it points out, how it's like for brownie, like, note, the only way you can tell it's brownie is if the tag says that it is. Like, don't be suckered into paying $1,000 for a common one. It's a good thing they did that. Like, they're, as I've learned from many stupid eBay auctions and like fan sites and stuff, there's a lot of people who don't know what the hell they're buying and what anything's worth. It is good to have that information. These are just like, if you can't get so-and-so, you can get this random off-brand one, because why not? I like how similar this one is, though. That's pretty good. And we've got the teddies. Quick, we've got a few more pages to fill. Take pictures of stuff. I like the dinosaurs. I never had them, and I probably never will. I could buy them. I mean, I'm an adult now. I could buy them if I wanted to, but they would be a little expensive and not really worth the money, probably. And there we go. That was a very short magazine, which is good because I didn't want to spend 10 days on it. But it was I guess I'll be reading through this later. It was interesting to revisit it. So before I get into the box sitting next to me of the many the many beanies that I've acquired, let's look at some other stuff, such as an ancient McDonald's Happy Meal bag, because I think this thing is kind of funny. I just found this at a thrift store last month. It was just kind of sitting on the floor. Like, I went in there looking for if they had any beanies that I would need for the collection, and they did. They had like 5. But then I just happened to see this, and I'm like, okay, this thing's kind of amazing. I need to pick this thing up. This was from the 1998 set, and I mean, it's a freaking paper bag. It's not worth anything, but it's kind of cool if you are into that sort of thing, which obviously I am. So, yep. And I'm actually, while I'm thinking about it, let me bust out this magazine again, because I think this is actually in the listings. I think there's like a price for it, like what this would have gone for in '98. Let's see. Where's the teeny beanie section? this isn't all of them. Let's see, we've got vinyl banner, employee hat, employee t-shirt, restaurant display, media kit, unused 98 teeny beanie Happy Meal bags, $1 to $1.50. So yeah, I mean, I didn't think they'd go for much because they're paper bags and they made millions of them, but they had a listing for it. They recognized it as a collector's item. It's kind of funny. Alright, and next on our list is going to be this random pouch that I found, not to be confused with Pouch the Kangaroo. We'll get to that one later. I got this one at a Goodwill last month, and it still actually has the price tag on it now that I look at it. That's pretty good. Should probably peel that off. The princess card in the front here was not part of this, nor was the orange digger underneath. I just kind of found these and slipped them into the bag because, like, why not? Like, no, I don't need to pay for these things. I don't think these are worth anything. There were Beanie cards. I never got into them, but they existed. But yeah, as for this thing, this was the basically the Beanie Baby Official Club, like, Volume 2 kit. It's kind of weird. I found 2 of these at the Goodwill that one day, and then like a couple days later found another one of them at like a flea market. So apparently somebody just had a bunch of these and they unloaded them somewhere. But what do we got in here? We've got a Platinum Edition membership card. Oh boy. There used to be a collector's coin here, which is no longer there. Apparently there were like 9 of those for the original 9 beanies, and I don't know how much those go for. Probably not that much, but not something I really care about. Here's just a giant tie heart for no real reason. This is basically just a bag of tat, but I thought it was interesting. And so yeah, here's Clubby 2. This was the reason you bought this kit, just so you could get this one. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that is in a minute, but there's just kind of like, here, have some info. I don't know. So wait, this was actually stuff you could get off the website. Storage box, protector sleeves. Well, they had an official guide for the cards. Okay, then. I didn't know about that. And here's just random. Here, have a maze. Have a word search. Like, okay. And, man, look at this exclusive certificate that you bought from a store. Like, that's the thing with this, is you didn't actually have to, like, do anything special to get these. They just sold these. They were, like, 10, 15 bucks, I think. I don't know. I never actually had this one when I collected back in the day. I think this was around the point where... No, actually... When did... Yeah, okay, this was 1999. So yeah, this was around the point where I stopped caring, because I can't, like, pinpoint when I stopped bothering getting new ones, but it was around the time that this one came out, I think. But I picked it up because I figured, hey, it's random memorabilia, why not? But as I mentioned, this was the second one, and you can actually see in here, where was it again? Yeah, right here. Here's the first edition of the official club kit, and guess what I just got today? I got this along with the magazine. This is just more tat, basically, but it's something I wanted. I figured, why not? Remember your free poster. I actually don't know if this has a poster in it. I think that might have come separately with it. I just wanted the box of tat, so let's open this up. So here's Clubby 1. So yeah, here, this was kind of the thing, like the reason you would bother getting these. The Clubby Bear was exclusive to the official club thing. Like, you had to this one you had to actually sign up for on the website and get it in the mail. This one wasn't sold in stores, and then you would get Clubby mailed to you also. So apparently this was how you got Clubby. as far as I can tell, just from looking up various info, the kit here was released March 21st, 98 it looks like, and the release date for Clubby is listed as May 1st, so I guess it took a while to actually get that one. It does say once Clubby arrives this summer, please allow 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, I guess that it wasn't ready to go out yet. I don't know why they released them separately. That's kind of weird. But there's a thing. This one also comes with a membership card. This one is gold. And you can carry it in your wallet, hang it on your backpack, or keep it in a very special place. We've made it just for you. Don't I feel special? Why would you attach this to a backpack? What? I don't even know. I'm gonna have fun putting this stuff back in here, by the way. So just official newsletter. Let's see. I'm kind of curious what some of this stuff says. Some of the original 9 have since retired and gone off to travel the world, bringing love and joy wherever they visit. Okay, then. Holy cow, the winds of change are blowing. Chip, Pinchers, Valentino, Blizzard, Bones. There, I did it. I solved the puzzle. And just more random garbage. So yeah, these, just to kind of date everything here, here, let me pull up my spreadsheet again just so you can see. This is my second of the 2 spreadsheets. This one lists everything by release date. So you've got the originals, and then the actual original 9, and then just various stuff since then. And this group here were the newest according to the magazine that I just showed, and then at some point after that Struck came out, and then this set, and I'm still calling bullshit on this, but whatever. Then there was that, Princess, that, and then this set was, this was the very end of 97. This was the first set really to have Gen 5 tags, so they fall outside of my collection range. But as you'll see, I've got this list here, Britannia, Bruno, Hissy, etc. They are listed as the newest ones according to this, so that's where this one fell in. Aaron was actually not part of that group. It came out a couple months later, but or exactly 1 month later according to my list. But yeah, all your Beanie Babies will love your official giant play poster. Play poster. So here's the official, in 37 pairs of quotes, checklist. And this checklist here was actually a major reason why I wanted to pick up this kit in the first place, just because I wanted to actually have a physical copy of this thing. Because this goes over everything that was released at the time, the newest one being Aaron. So everything from the beginning up through January of 98. And so if we're going to consider this the end-all be-all list of what counts as a variant, then it's obviously a lot less selective than the magazines and stuff. I'm kind of surprised how many it actually does recognize in here. Because here's the thing with the Beanie Collection stuff and with Ty Warner. Ty, from what I can tell, basically just wanted to create toys to make kids happy, and obviously he's a businessman and his goal is to make money and stay in business, but he never intended it to become this massive freaking craze that people would spend thousands on. And as far as I can tell, he never really supported that mindset. And so the other thing with Ty, though, is apparently he's very behind the times and didn't work on the website himself or really have anything to do with any of that. And so any of this official club type stuff, I have to assume he didn't have much of a say in. Like, he obviously okayed it, but this must have been done by like someone else in the company, like some other higher up, because in this list we've got stuff like Bongo the monkey with the tan tail, formerly Nana, Bongo the monkey with the brown tail. Like, this is recognizing variants of things, and for somebody who doesn't want these to necessarily be collector's items and just wants them to be toys, like, would you really recognize these as separate items on your official checklist? And so it's like, I kind of wonder who put this thing together. I wish I like had information on that. And as I was saying, I kind of also question some of this info, because as I mentioned earlier, the magazine that I got, which again was released between May and July 97, listed the two variants of Inch and said that the felt version retired in 1996, and I kind of trust that because it was like a product of its time, like it came out during that period. This one claims that Yarn Antenna one was released October 97, when it couldn't have been because it was in the magazine. And like, again, this is such a minor stupid point. I don't know why I'm so hung up on this, but like, that there to me is evidence that this list can't really be trusted, even though it's an official source. And so when it says stuff like Brown Tail Bongo retired June 96, like, I don't trust that, because other sources say it was later, and like, depending on what tag generation it falls into, it's kind of hard to track stuff. And I don't know, I don't know why this bothers me. It's just kind of something that does, because I feel like for stuff like this with a collection, like, you should be able to tell like when stuff came out and when it was taken off the market. And I've done my own research on a lot of these. Like, I've looked through eBay auctions specifically for the purpose of like seeing what tag generations things had, just to see if it matched official sources, and a lot of times it didn't. And I don't know, it's stupid. Like right here with Tank, that's another one. This claims that the one without it, like, first of all, this only lists 2 tanks, it without shell and width. It doesn't count the 7 line as and the 9 line as 2 different ones. It says that the one without a shell retired Jan 796, but we know that it has a Gen 4 tag, and that I don't think came into being until around spring of 96, maybe early summer. So it's just, I don't know. But yeah, whenever I see a website that lists this kind of info, I think they usually get their info from this checklist, because it's considered an official source, and I don't think that it's accurate. Just like, these are basically the sites I use. There's this one, Tie Collector, and then there's About Beanies. Like, let's go to Inch again, just as an example. Oh, there's so many fucking Hello Kitty ones. Like 90% of this list is stuff I don't care about. But yeah, like right here, intro October 15th, that is not correct. I owned one of these before that date. I know I did, because I started collecting almost a year before that, and I think Inch was like one of the, like, in the first 20 or so that I had. Like, it's hard to say, because that was frickin' 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, and I was like 8. So my memory isn't exactly the greatest, but I remember that being the case. So anyways, that's the checklist. Here's a door hanger. Clearly I'll use this. And then, yeah, I didn't get the poster. I could order the poster separately if I wanted one, but I don't think I really want it that bad. I mainly just wanted the checklist so I could bitch about it. The stickers are kind of cool, though. It's interesting to see full sheets of these that haven't been used. If you order your issues of Zoo books now, they'll come with the amazing tiger poster and animal stickers that can be used anywhere, even cheeks. A little bit of a tangent there, don't mind me. Okay, so that was that. My random collection of Beanie memorabilia from back in the day. I don't know, am I stupid for finding this stuff interesting? Probably a little bit. But moving that aside, I've got so much crap next to me. I'm like trying to juggle all this. Okay, so before I get to the actual collection here, I'm going to show some other stuff. So I showed this one in the last video. I'm not going to be going through everything that I had in the last one, but since then I have acquired the Buddy version of it, just for a size comparison, because in the last video I showed the Beanie Buddy of Jake, and just was like, I don't have a regular size Jake to compare it to, but I've got these. And fun fact about this one, can we get a focus on this? Pumpkin the Beanie Baby was the first Beanie to represent a fruit. Is a pumpkin a fruit? Apparently it is, because it's funny, I bought this thing and didn't really look at the tag or anything. I'm just like, hey, I want this, I'll get it. It's only like I don't remember how much it was. I think I got like 3 of these for like $10, so I think it was like, I guess $3. But I look at it later on and I'm like, wait, one of my brothers had one of these like a number of years ago, and I remember it saying a vegetable, not a fruit. Is this like a Berenstein Bears split universe thing going on? So I looked it up. Let me go to Tie Collector here. We have Beanie Buddies, where are they? Apparently they were 2 different tags. So this thing came out August of '99, retired November of '99, already not that long of a time, and apparently during that time they changed it from vegetable to fruit. That's kind of amazing. I guess like they probably released this and then like some asshole is like, actually a pumpkin isn't a vegetable, it counts as a fruit, so then they changed it. I don't know. That's just, I imagine that's what happened. But yeah, as I mentioned, I got 3 of these at once. So I got Pumpkin, and then I also got Peking, which is the regular Beanie Baby Peking, is one of the really old, retired, like, January 95? No. I think January 96 was when that one retired. So it's a pretty rare one. And here's Teddy Old Face Teal, which I will complain about because it has a ribbon. The Old Face Teddies didn't have ribbons, excuse me. But, what does this one have to say? Also, I like the stains on it. They're pretty good. Focus. Teddy Teal Beanie Baby is produced with a styled face. First tile, yeah. As like, again, I keep saying, like, in the last video I said this as if people are going to remember everything I said in a year-old video that most people probably didn't even watch. But, I talked about how, like, the Royal Blue Peanut one that keeps getting mistakenly listed on, like, top 10 most valuable lists. I said, like, how the Beanie Buddy isn't a collector's item, but the tag would refer to the original as being one. This is a good example of that being the case. What does this one say? Peking the Beanie Baby was the first panda made by Ty, retired after only 6 months, making him highly collectible. Okay, hold on. Is that true? Let's bust out the infallible checklist here. Peking, issued June 94, retired January 96. So how about that 6 months? Internal consistency. And see, this one I actually believe, like, because Peking actually did survive through 3 tag generations, I think. Let me check. It was... yeah, it can have between 1 and 3. So yeah, that actually makes sense to me. So the tag on the Buddy is just flat out wrong. Good job. But anyway, those are the only Buddies I got. I don't really care about those too much, but I picked them up because they were cheap. Here's some other stuff that I've acquired. These are not actually part of the collection, and I'll show why in a minute. But Well, some of these kind of are. So yeah, here's just kind of a bunch of crap. I'm gonna have to keep the piece bearer around for comparison in a bit, and same with scoop. I got this scoop because it has a tush tag that says Rory, and I thought that was kind of funky. I don't think the misprint tags are actually worth that much. Like, even back when people cared about beanies, like, they were an interesting... I hesitate to use the word conversation piece because that's a really stupid way to put it, but I mean, if you're collecting stuff, it's like, hey, I've got a weird variant, it's funky, why not? But yeah, here's Osito. This, despite having a Mexican flag, was actually an American exclusive. I don't know if beanies were officially released anywhere in Mexico, actually. It doesn't have a hang tag, but I don't really care. I got this one because it resembles a Hadoop. That's all it needs to do to get into my good book. Guess I'll keep Hoot next, like, nearby also. This is Dottie. I picked this one up mistakenly because I didn't realize that it was a Gen 5 tag when I found it, and I'm fine with that because this thing's really dirty anyway, so it, like, would have needed to be replaced regardless. Here's Valentina. I got this one also from Goodwill, same day as the Clubby 2 Platinum Pack. And I picked it up because it has a Canadian tush tag. Whenever, like, any beanie sold in Canada would have, like, the regular one, this is a Gen 7 tag, and then it would also have this thing, which just lists, like, oh, is that upside down? It's like, it's not even focused, I can't tell. What does this thing say on it? I don't know if it's going to focus, it probably won't. Yeah, there it goes. And the other side is in French. I don't know why they had this second tag. It seems kind of unnecessary, but I figured it was interesting because, I mean, I'm in Texas. Random Canadian tag. You're not gonna... I would think you wouldn't see that very often, but I've actually got like 3 others that have it. And, this particular spooky, I think, was the one I showed off in the last video. I have 2 of them now. And just to show, for the sake of why not, this is a original Gen 4 tush. The reason that I point that out as a thing is because you can tell there's like a piece of tape on it. It's really stupid. When they changed from the Gen 3 to Gen 4 tush tag, the only difference between the two is the star to the upper left of the tie heart. And so they apparently just had like an overstock of the old ones. And so they just took this piece of tape with a red star on it and just put it over it. And they're like, there, now it's good enough. Eventually, they did start printing them with the star, and they're still considered Gen 4. But, yeah, I call this the Gen 4.0 just because it was a very limited run, and I've got a surprising number of them with this. Actually, how many do I have? Let me see. Looking at my list here, I've got Spot, Chocolate. Okay, just those two. Those 2, and then the Spooky, which I have listed somewhere else because it's not my, like, main one. I have one that is in slightly better condition. See, this one has, like, a barely visible crease on the tag. Can't have that. No, I would be perfectly fine with that. Like, I wouldn't consider that, like, unacceptable by any means. It's just I found a better one, and Spooky's not that common, so I got 2 of them. But anyway, as I said, that was not part of the actual collection yet. This I'm going to try to blow through semi-quickly because I know nobody really cares, but I would show them off anyway. And we've actually got Peace at the top of the pile. So this was the piece I had last year when I did the other video. This is a new one. The reason I have 2 of these is because just every time you get, like, pieces tie-dye, so everyone's a little bit different, so they're just kind of interesting to see which variants you can find. Piece in particular, though, here, let me see if I can find how the like website lists it. Let's spend 25 minutes finding it on the list. I would control F, but the keyboard's like way far away. Oh yeah, by the way, I like this here. These 7 different versions of Patty that they list, 3 of them are specific to like this weird like original 9 promotion thing that they did eventually that yeah, they have like this little button on them, and it's like not actually the old tag, it's just one that kind of looks like it. They sold the original 9 in like bundles. It was like a blind bag. You would get all 9 of them, but then one of the 9 would randomly be a rare variant. And so like they apparently made 3 patties, but the annoying thing is one of them is called light pink, and none of the originals were light pink. And so that just adds to the confusion of like what the different patty versions are. And of course this site doesn't even have images of them, so it's like I can't even tell what they're supposed to look like. And these 2 just don't even have links at all. It's, I don't know, it's really stupid. But anyway, peace. This one, oh, actually this isn't mentioning 2 versions of Peace. I thought it did. This is the Indonesian one. They can have 2 different sizes. Here, let me look at this side, because this is where I actually got my initial like list for the stuff with 4th gen tags, because they have a listing of all of them. And this one specifically says Peace Pastel. And then if you look at the Gen 5 list, it says Peace Neon. And the thing is, like, these are random anyway, because the colors are always going to be different, so I really don't know how you tell the difference. And I've seen some sources claim that like the change between the 2 types happened during the Gen 5 period, so like Gen 4s will always be one kind, but 5 can be one or the other. I don't know. To me, these look pretty damn similar. Like, and the difference between the 2 tags is incredibly minimal, but I'm going to show this just so you can see what I have to go through whenever I am out looking for these. The Gen 4 tag is in, I want to say Arial. I don't actually know what the font is. It doesn't look like Arial, but it's something like, can you please focus? Okay, there. There it goes. So that's what that one looks like. And Gen 5 is Comic Sans. That's basically the only difference. So whenever I'm out looking for them, I basically just look at the letter I in Beanie. If it has like a line on the top and bottom, then you know it's Gen 5. That's the easiest way for me to tell. The inside of the tag is different also. Aside from just the font, this one says like visit our webpage and then has like HTTP on the bottom, whereas the Gen 5 tag just has www.tie.com, and it's formatted a little bit differently. But yeah, like I said, I'm specifically going for Gen 4s. If I find something that I need for the collection that has a Gen 5 tag, I usually won't get it just because I'll want to replace it eventually anyway. I'm being a little bit nitpicky, but I figure might as well. But yeah. So enough talking about that. Here's Princess. Can you believe how rare it is? I found this one at a Goodwill in like perfect condition with a pristine tag inside a frickin' like protector. This one is, if the camera will show, wait for it, PE pellets. So this is the common one. Again, I swear I'm not going to spend like 5 minutes talking about each one of these, but these first few I kind of have to. As we learned in the past, people claim that the PVC Princess is like this super rare, impossible to find thing that's worth thousands, which it's not. But It is slightly noteworthy because it's like basically the first edition. Again, if we look at my chart here, going off of release date, this was the set released in May that was in the magazine, then Surrett, then these are the October ones. Then we have Princess, which was October 29th. And then the change to PE pellets is hard to kind of pin down exactly when it happened, but it was sometime around February of the following year. And the reason we know that is because this was the change from, like, at this point stuff could still have the Gen 4, and then at this point onwards it was always 5. And you can find some with 5s with PVC, but most of them are PE. And so that's the only real reason that it would be noteworthy in any sense, because Princess actually has a weird, like, hybrid tag. It's not really 4 or 5, it's kind of like a transitionary one. So let me actually open this up real quick and show what I mean. Hopefully not damage anything in the process. So, on the front of it, we can see it doesn't have the top and bottom on the letter I. So it's got the font from the Gen 4, and on the inside it has its own special cursive font because it was like a special edition type of thing. And it doesn't have the URL at the bottom, so you can't judge it off of that either. But so it's like, this looks like a Gen 4 tag mostly, but let me actually compare. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, the back of it also, the font is different on these. I've got the Gen 5 piece on the left and the Princess on the right. So that's a little different, and the locations there, let me see if they're noteworthy in any way. Not really, it's just the font difference. But the reason I say it's a transitionary one is because aside from the hang tag generations, you've also got the tush tag ones, and Gen 4 tags were only available with Gen 3, 4, or 5 tush, and 5 comes with a 6. And there is a, well, yeah, you can kind of see here, you'd have to know the difference between 5 and 6 to get what I'm talking about, but these are basically the same thing other than the font on the word Princess being different. God, this focus. But yeah, it says the Beanie Babies collection are, and then a TM after the name. The Gen 5 Gen 5 tush tags said the Beanie Babies are collection TM. It's a very slight difference, but there is a difference. So basically, this thing has like a combination of tags that shouldn't exist, so people just call it a transitionary one. That's why the PVC one is slightly of note to me, particularly because I'm only going for Gen 4s, so it's like if I get a PVC, I know it was released in the window where those would have been available. I don't know. Okay, so moving on. Here's apparently all the ones that I have comparisons to are just on the top of the box. It's worked out nicely. Here's my two spookies. The only difference between the two is a slight difference in tag quality, and this is the one that has the tape on it, and this one does not have the tape on it. This is that's a Gen 3 tag actually, because it doesn't have the star. So yeah, this one's like slightly older. And then here is Hoot. And the only reason this one's noteworthy is because I found this Hoot first, and its tag is not in the best condition that I've seen. It's got like some wear and tear on it. And this one is a lot better looking, so I got this one to replace it. Speaking of tags that are shit quality, here's my Curly, which I would also like to replace at some point, and its face is like really smushed looking. I don't know what happened to it. I found this one in a, this was in like a cabinet. I got this along with like 4 other ones just from this random thrift store nearby, and they were just kind of in a big heap, and I mean usually they are, Like, whenever you find them in thrift stores, they're always just kind of in a pile of random stuff. But I mean, the like Princess and Spooky and stuff like those I found just in a pile of random stuffed animals at Goodwill, and they were in like perfect condition. This one not so much. It looks like this one was like sitting under a box for a few years. I don't know. Let me try and keep this pile separate from my main pile. God, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I've got too much crap and not enough room to put it. Don't mind me. Okay. See, I'm just going to kind of go through this and just, if there's anything noteworthy about it, I'll say it. Here's Bongo. It's a tan tail, which is the common one, so it doesn't have a whole lot going for it. The Gobbles. I showed this one in the last video. This is not the same one that I had in that, because that was a Gen 5 tag, so I got a replacement for it. Here's Hoppity. It is one of 3 rabbits of this type. I have not found the other 2 yet. Here's my other Scoop, because, you know, I gotta have 2 of those. I do like Scoop, but, I mean, that's not why I got 2 of them. It's just this is the one with the Rory, and this is the one that isn't, but, again, left is Comic Sans, right is not, so I did have to get a replacement for it. Here's Jolly. And here is Waves. Or wait, is it actually Waves? Because the tag would lead you to believe that it's not. Waves and Echo were released at the same time, and they're very similar to each other, just Echo is blue and has like a bit of a snout because it's a dolphin. But not only does that tag say Echo, but this one does too. Apparently the very first releases of these actually had all the tags swapped. And since this is a Gen 3 tush, I know that that was an original. I mean, aside from the fact that it is mislabeled and I gave it away. So, there's Legs. Legs is like one of the smooshiest ones. It's honestly like one of the shittiest designs, and I kind of love it for that reason, because it's like, this was one of the original 9, and it's like, here's years later, like, we're getting into these much more complicated ones. Original set, just random roadkill frog. It's fine. Like, this is what the kids want. I don't know. I like Legs. It's simplistic, but it was never meant to be anything else. Here's Spike the Rhino. It's like really fluffy for some reason. This was one of like 20 that I pulled out of a like a crane machine at this like, it was like this Christian thrift store. They had this crane machine in the front, and I could see that there were some beanies in there. And so I just asked the lady behind the counter if I could dig through it, and she's like, yeah, go for it. Like, the crane won't even lift these. So I just went through and I found like 10 of them, and they were $1 each. And then a couple of weeks later I came back and dug through it again and found like 10 more. That's where like half of my collection has come from. But unfortunately I've cleaned them out. I'm pretty sure they don't have any more. There's Lucky, specifically 11 Spot Lucky, which is the common one, unfortunately. Pinchers, not to be confused with Punchers. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Here's 1997 Teddy, which I've always kind of enjoyed just for the fact that it was one of those like holiday releases that was only out for a couple months, so it's not the most common thing in the world. I wouldn't exactly call it rare, but it's rarer than most. Gracie's always been one of the most generic. I don't mind it, but I just remember back when these were current, you would always just find a million of these on the shelves. Nobody would ever buy them. Velvet. Not that you can frickin' see it, but it's Velvet the Panther. I pulled it out of the tag so you can't see it anymore, but this was one of the ones I got from the crane machine, and when I found this one, obviously under a bunch of other stuff, it was like, its tag was like intertwined with something else, and so I go to pull this thing out, and it's like getting stuck and pulling on it, and I'm like, oh god, don't rip off. But so I like kind of unwound them a little bit, and then when I got this one out, there was actually like 2 red connectors in it. So I don't know if like that was actually, it was like made that way, or if I like pulled a connector out of something else accidentally. I don't think I did, but I don't know, it was just kind of weird. Sly the Fox, specifically the white belly one, which again is the common one. I don't really have any rares, unfortunately. Weenie. Behold the face. Here's Nuts. This one has a tag that is not in the greatest condition. This is what I considered on my collection chart to be a like 3rd quality. Like I have like a 1 out of 5 or like an out of 5 ranking, and this one's, it's actually not showing up that much in the camera, but it's got like this really bad crease across it, so if I find one in better condition, I will get it. Here's Beanie, the star of, what was it, Dog Error PVC China Canada tag. Let me actually find that image. While I'm thinking about it, actually, I've got this open here, just random crap that I've found. There's the Donald's bag, some license plates, this weird book, fruits basket. There's the completed Helmet Rock King that was not found at a thrift store. That was made over the course of many years. Random metal T-Rex. There's just a bunch that I found one day. There's this. And I guess that was it for that batch. There's 400 soups. This was the first batch that I pulled out of the crane machine. There's that thing. Random Quest for Camelot cookie jar. Horrible Kaylee action figure. Peter got a Peagull. Yeah, I found this one at the flea market one day, and I didn't get it, but I figured it was worth sharing because the meanies were one of the things that people took away more than anything else from my last video of this. Here's a random picture from our local Goodwill of 2 princesses. Man, look how elusive those are. Never gonna get over that. Also pictured here, Snip, which I would have gotten if it had a tag, but it didn't. Scorch, which I already have 2 of. Whisper, which is Gen 5, so I don't need it. And Nuts, which I already have, and the tag on this one I think was actually in worse condition than the one I had, so I didn't bother. Here's the Valentina, which I already showed. But, hold on, I gotta get the Dog Error PVC China Canada tag. Yeah, here we go. Clearly, this thing is worth $16,000 because it's, judging from this, just from the terminology, all collectors rare Thai Beanie Babies Beanie Dog Error PVC China Canada tag, which, good God, that is a word salad. But if we're going to actually take that at face value and try to interpret what that means, first of all, let's see. It's apparently worth $16,000 according to this person because it has PVC pellets and was made in China. This one, just saying, PVC pellets. Is this one made in China? Yeah, handmade in China. The one thing this doesn't have is a Canadian tag, so I guess that makes all the difference. And I don't know what the error is. It's probably some stupid shit like inside the hang tag at the bottom where it says visit our webpage, there's an extra space in between page and the exclamation point. That's usually what those things are when you find them on eBay. They're always really stupid things like that that aren't anything. I don't know. I see on the left that Fareham hats thing. I think there was a typo with those at one point. I know that a lot of early Gen 5 tags would say original with 2 eyes on the front, and on the back it would say Sufis wash instead of surface. Those are also not rare, but eBay scammers like to claim that they are. So anyway, here's Waddle. it is a penguin. I do enjoy penguins. Here is Chip. It is one of like 5 cats. I found this one in a very decrepit Goodwill. It was not the most well kept place I've seen in my life, but this was of decent quality. There's Blizzard. I've got a giant pile next to me, slowly encroaching on my space. I've got to be done with this soon. Seaweed, which I did show in the last video, it has a damage tag, so I would like to replace it. But this is a standout of the collection because this is one that was actually sent to us in one of the like old like Domino's Pizza revealing our address, so people sent us stuff videos. So thank you for that one. If I ever do find a replacement, I'll obviously keep the original just for sentimental value. Freckles, it's one of many that is just, let's take this exact body shape but give it a different fabric. Pictured here, Chip, Blizzard, Bernie, Velvet, like 90 others. I mean, to be fair, most of these are cats or like big cats, but the bears are like that too. Here's Batty. The brown Batty. It was eventually changed to tie-dye, and it has a very messed up looking face. This one, judging from that face, I'm going to say this was made in Indonesia. Nope, handmade in China. A lot of the Indonesian ones are like kind of lower quality standards. Let's see, we got Happy the Hippo. The purple one, gray one is older and rarer. Claude. Here's another one I'd like to point out as showing up very often on false, super like top 10 rare beanies worth millions lists, specifically because of its name being spelled in all caps in the tag. Hey look, mine is spelled in all caps. It's almost like there were a lot of those and that isn't all that special. Which again, if we're going off of tush tag generations, this one doesn't have the star next to the heart, so it's a Gen 3, meaning it was a pretty early one. Like, so if you're into that kind of thing, great, but it's not all that special. I think all of the ones from the May 11th, 97 batch could have the all caps names. All of them except for Peace is what I've heard. So here's Ziggy. I have a few words about this one also because if you may remember from the magazine, and actually, hold on, let me just pull over the checklist just for visuals, I guess, I don't know. If you may remember, Stripes the Tiger, Thin Stripe and Wide Stripe. This one's a little bit more easy to tell because they also changed the color of it. It went from like a darker gold to kind of like a lighter caramel color. Ziggy apparently went through the same thing, but as you can tell on this checklist, it's not recognized on here, and it was never really recognized in the Beanie World magazines either. And it was only recently that I started seeing anyone claim that it was actually different. So like, this is the Gen 5 list, it just says Ziggy. On the Gen 4 list, it says Ziggy Thin and Ziggy Wide. And then in the Gen 3 list, it says just Ziggy again. So I believe it changed from thin to wide during the Gen 4 period, but it's not very clear because nobody really documented it all that well, as far as I can tell. And like, yeah, like right here it says thin is 3 and 4, wide is 4 and 5, but they don't even have pictures of them. And from what I've been able to tell on like just random eBay searches and like looking up images of them, like the difference is so slight. I think the one I have is, I want to say Wide Stripe. I can't even tell. Let me pull up an eBay search and just see what we got. So let's see. Here's I'm trying to see if I can find one with like a Gen 3 tag. Third gen, first tush, absolutely magnificent. So yeah, this is a Gen 3. So this is what this one looks like. Comparing to the one that I have here. Let me scrunch this down a little bit. Like, that looks about the same to me. Let me see, what actually does this one have? This has a Gen 5 tush, so this was pretty close to the end of the run of the Gen 4 hang tag. So if it went from thin to wide, then that must mean this is the wide because it was released at the end of that period. Or at least that's what I would assume that means. But it looks really similar to the one in the image. I guess the one in the image is a thin. Like, who the hell can tell? Let me see. With many errors, PVC pellets. God, the freaking PVC thing. Yeah, it's PVC because that's a Gen 4 tag. They all do. Let me see. I'm trying to find one with a Gen 5 tag just for comparison. So, this one says PVC, so it's another 4. Not that I can freaking tell from the picture quality. It's another 4. That's always the problem with these, is it's just really hard to... You can't really search for tag generations on eBay very easily because most people don't really know what they are, and they'll just get it wrong anyway. I'm not going to spend all day looking for this, but point is, if there's a difference between them, it's incredibly slight. I don't think it really counts, but I mean, I guess it kind of does. I don't know. Here is Nip, yet another one of the cats, which I found in the kind of shitty Goodwill along with Chip. Here is Pugsley, which is another one of the ones that would just never be bought and sit on store shelves for forever, and then eventually become the Prospector. Here we got Blackie, and for comparison, here's Cubby, not to be confused with Brownie, because Brownie is the original. My Cubby also has a Canadian tush tag. And look, it's the same body type as like every other beanie that exists. Mystic. This is specifically the second version of Mystic. And I think this one also had something sitting on it for quite a while because the horn leans left, and I don't know if there's anything I can do to really fix that. But yeah, Mystic went through 4 versions, so did Derby the horse. First version was Fine Mane, which was just kind of like a thinner type of yarn. The second version is this one, the Coarse Mane. Third version, they changed the horn to iridescent. Here, let me see if I have the picture on the checklist just to show off what I mean. Yeah, here we go. So according to this list, again, if we can trust these dates, like this one also doesn't list Fine Mane as a variant, which I find kind of dumb. If we're going to count other stuff like inky with or without a mouth, then I think that should count. But either way, this says it changed over October 23rd, 97. And Iridescent Horn Mystic is, as far as I can tell, the last thing ever released with a Gen 4 hang tag. Like according to the About Beanies site that I used for reference, like it was on that list, and I didn't think it existed for a long time because every time I searched for one I always saw a Gen 5 tag, but I did find like one auction that had it. It was probably like, I think it was like 75 bucks. I'm like, okay, this is not going to be something I'll find easily, but I'm not going to spend 75 bucks on it, so I'll see if I ever find one otherwise. Anyway, here's Rover. Totally not Clifford. Pouched Kangaroo. I always kind of liked this one. The baby here is pretty good. It's just, you can just pull it out of the pouch. It's just kind of like a head with nothing underneath it. It's also got a Canadian tush tag. Here is Spot. Another one that I have that's in like perfect condition somehow, even though it was sitting in a crane machine for God knows how long. So, table's getting shifted out of the way. Congo the gorilla. This one's only noteworthy because it has the same birthday as me. Goldie. Coral, which is the only one that I have part of my collection that doesn't have a tag, and that's only because I picked this one up many years ago before I started collecting, and it's I'd say probably the rarest one I have because it was one of the January 97 retirees, and it's the only one from that group that I own. If we again look at the chart, let me zoom in on this a little bit here. So yeah, this was from that group. I've got Coral, but none of the others, and I also don't have any from the next group. Not found any of those yet. I found a decent number from the third group, though. Getting very close to the end of them here. Here is Peanut, not the royal blue one, obviously. And Chocolate the Moose, which... Ooh, this one's got the Gen 4 with tape and Canadian tag. So I should put it on eBay and call it like Thai Moose Chocolate Error Tape PVC Tag China Malignant Tumor Lethal Injection. That'll be a good name for an auction. But yeah, that is everything that I currently have. I don't know why anybody would have watched this, but there we go. If you have any beanies you'd like to send to me... No, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, will I ever do another one of these? I don't know. I'm not going to ever do like another, hey, I got a couple more things for my collection, behold them type video unless I like severely increase the number I have. But for now, that'll be it. And if I accomplished anything in this one, it was indicating that I was unhappy with a checklist released in 1998. And this, for some reason, offends me greatly. I don't know. I'm weird.